who was supposed to go before me, but they ended up forgetting their lyrics. So then they got kicked off the stage, and then they were like, next up, Felisha George. And I'm like, no way. Like, no way, I'm supposed to go up there now after someone just forgot their lyrics. Like, how am I supposed to do this?
Christian Dior, yeah, knock, got peas at the door, yeah, 30 point gon' score, yeah, arm and hammer like Thor, yeah, wow, sippin' some oil, yeah, water gon' boil, yeah, big coupe Megazord, yeah, plain paddock is aluminum foil, yeah.
She's a rapper slash music artist. You may have seen her on the first season of Netflix's Rhythm and Flow. Please welcome Felisha George to the podcast.
Yay!
Next to the stage, we got Felisha George. Let's go!
Look, I see wristwatch, my door, blink. I don't think much, I just speak. In our city, I'm the queen. I'm in my bag with it. Push me, gorilla balls up in it. Niggas on division, but it calls the killers to come and start the mission. Now we start, I finish, banana balls forbidden. Got false credentials.
So, Felisha, just to kind of start it off, when did you realize, like, was there a specific moment you realized you were better at music or rapping than most other people?
I would say, so, like, my whole family raps. Like, my mom raps, my grandma raps, all my uncles rap, all my, like, cousins rap. So, like, I was kind of, like, brought up around it. So I've been doing it for a really long time and have always had people tell me, like, yo, Felisha, you should be rapping. And, like, I used to act. I went to college for acting. I also acted in high school. So, like, I was never focused on rapping or ever was like, oh, I should do this full time. But, like, I guess after me constantly, like, doing it throughout my whole life, I was like, yeah, I should probably be doing this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what's one thing you wish you had known before you had started making music?
I wish I would have known how it actually feels on the other side. Like, I think at first, even, like, before Rhythm and Flow, before everything, I used to just perform, like, around my town and, like, in New York. And it wasn't much pressure because, like, I was really just out enjoying myself, like, not really thinking anything would come of it. And then when I started, like, actually building, like, a following, I was like, oh, this is a little stressful. Like, it's, like, a lot to be someone that a lot of people know, even if it isn't, like, the whole world. But, like, you know, even being on a small scale of that, it can be a lot of pressure. And I just wish that I would have known that or just, like, considered that more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure, I don't know how much this has happened to you, but I'm sure it's weird if someone comes up to you and they, like, saw you on the show and they know who you are and you've never seen this person in your life, so. So I guess this is kind of a related question, like, what tips or what advice would you give people who are either just starting or about to start making music?
I would say to be intentional about what it is that you want. I think for me going in, I wasn't really clear about what I wanted to come from me putting music out. I think I just was like, oh, I like to do this, I want to do this, and I'm giving it a go instead of, like, actually sitting down and, like, thinking what I wanted for myself and what I wanted to put out there and what I wanted to receive back. So I would just say being intentional about what it is that you want, you know, what kind of career you want, what you want it to look like, what your audience looks like, you know, things like that.
It's almost like planning out or have an idea of what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
So I know rap and music in general can be a hard industry to kind of break into or get your name out there. Was there, like, a low point along the journey as you were going up? Like, was there a point where you almost, like, wanted to give it up, or was, like, just anything like that?
Yeah, like I said before, I feel like before being on the show, it was, like, not as much pressure. So I was really enjoying just, like, the simple life of, like, you know, going out and doing shows, but also being able to communicate with people regularly and, like, not feeling like, oh, I should go to this space with a group of people and not just by myself, because a lot of people know who I am now. And I think experiencing that after the show for me was a lot. Like, it was emotionally a lot for me to handle. And I think right after the show, I was like, yeah, I'm not rapping anymore. Like, I'm done with this. I'm about to. I also teach. So I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to keep teaching, and that's it. I'm putting the mic down. I'm done. It took a lot for me to come out of that space also, but definitely after the show, I was like,
So
yeah.
you had that feeling after the show came out.
Yeah.
And so I think D Smoke in the show, it said he also teaches. Do any of your like students know that you make music, or have any of them seen you on the show?
Yeah, so I actually teach songwriting. So I like teach hip hop, and I teach songwriting to high school students and to middle school students. So they all know what I do. I'm pretty much teaching them to do the same thing. So they're all aware, and it's like they are so excited just to be in the room with me and to like be creating things as a group. And so like that is really inspiring. I feel like even when I was like, oh, I want to stop doing this, the kids were like, when are you dropping music? And when are we going to hear something new? Can you play one of your songs? It's like I couldn't even get away from that part of myself if I wanted to.
So who has inspired you the most in life?
Who has inspired me the most in life? That's a good one. I would say, I've actually never said this before, but I'm gonna say it now. I feel like my dad actually, he's very inspiring just because he does not give up on things. And he always pushes forward, and like you rarely ever hear him complain about anything ever. Like he's just always trying to figure out how to get things done, how he can get things done, and how he can like support the people around him. And I think I'm like just now realizing that about him, and how that has influenced me and influenced how I navigate the world and even navigate my career as a teacher and as an artist. Like I feel like he definitely helps me to see the bigger picture of what I want and how I can go about it.
So it can be rappers, but just music in general. Who are your top 3 artists of all time?
Who of all time? Okay. I am a huge Left Eye fan. From TLC, I'm like, she's probably number 1. Of course, Lauryn Hill. I actually grew up in the same town as Lauryn Hill, so I'm very biased to her. I like love her. And Frank Ocean. Yeah.
So what, like when you're thinking of a new song or writing a new song, what does that creative process look like, or what goes into making a new song for you?
Yeah, it really depends on how I'm creating the song, because a lot of my friends are musicians, so usually it's like we're all in my house and they're playing, and then we just come up with whatever we come up with, which really works best for me because I'm like an energetic person, so like feeling the energy and like feeling whatever it is that I'm feeling that day and however I want to put that out there. But I feel like when I'm with musicians, it's a lot easier for me to understand what I want to say and like also understand how I'm feeling. And it's really hard for me to create if I also don't understand how I'm feeling or like what's going on with me in general. So when I have musicians, it's great. And then if people are like sending me beats, I just have to wait until I'm ready for it, because people will send me beats and I'll listen to it and I'll be like, yo, I have nothing. Then I'll get frustrated. Then I'll be like, forget this whole thing. And I really just have to be ready to write. Like I have to be in a space to write.
So your music, like, is there any message you're trying to send or anything you're trying to say with the songs that you make?
Yeah, I feel like right now for me, or for all of us, we're all in this process of just trying to figure out what's going on around us and like where we are, and thinking about like healing and growing and what that looks like for all of us individually. And I think I'm just telling my story and what that looks like for me, and just hoping that, you know, within that people can hear something about themselves or something that they can relate to, and not feel alone in their process, because we're all experiencing this life thing together and none of us know what's what. So like, yeah, I feel like for me, music is just a way to connect to people of all different backgrounds.
So if you got the opportunity to make one song with any artist in the world, who would it be?
Whew. I would say Erykah Badu.
Mm-hmm.
Erykah Badu. I feel like we would make an amazing song.
Okay. So you kind of mentioned it earlier. After Rhythm and Flow came out, I'm sure you got a lot more people starting to pay attention to you, to follow you. How did you deal with that huge jump in followers?
It was, I think, I could say this for like everyone on the show. It was definitely this like adrenaline rush.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think we were all like, "Oh my God, this is happening!" And we had been waiting so long for it to come out because we shot it almost like a year before it even came out. So we're all keeping this huge secret for months and months and months, and we can like only talk to each other about it. So when it came out, I feel like we were just all on this like adrenaline rush from like everything that was happening, all these people commenting on our pictures and videos. It was like, it was beautiful. I feel like the first 2-3 weeks I was like, oh, this is great, like this is amazing. And then I feel like after that I was like, oh, this is not stopping, like it's still going.
Those numbers are just keep getting higher.
Yeah, it was a lot after a while, but at first I was like, oh, this is better than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you said like all of you waiting that year after the show was filmed had to keep it a secret, and you were talking to only each other about it. Were those kind of just like one-off conversations, or did you have kind of one like huge group message with all the contestants from the show?
We had like some group chats here and there. We never like maintained them at all, but definitely at the beginning we had a lot of group chats, and like everyone was trying to figure out what was going on and sharing information with each other. But then yeah, after a while it was just one-on-one conversations with certain people. But in the beginning we were definitely all like, oh, we're in this together, and then yeah.
So is there any like other artists from the show that you'd be thinking about making music with?
Well, there is something coming soon with me and London B. That's super dope. That's also like my sister at this point. We like got close on the show and talk every day since. And me and Carter have something. I don't know if we'll ever put it out or what we'll ever do with it, but we literally made it in the hotel room at like while we were filming. So we'll see whatever happens with that. But it's
London B definitely seems to be a big favorite with not only just fans of the show, but also people from the show. I talked to Two Alive Bree and One Take Carter, and they also said that they really like London B.
Yeah, she's amazing. She really should have won, but okay.
So I think they tried to like almost accentuate it or make it clear in the show. The way you dress is very different from everyone else in the competition. You had a very different style where like if most people looked at it, they probably wouldn't immediately think rapper. Like you don't have any like necklaces or chains or like no flashy clothing. So what's like the reasoning behind your style?
I feel like this is the image I've seen all my life of just women who look like me. And just, my mom, my aunts, my grandma, they're not very flashy people. They're like, we are who we are. We come as we come. And so, like, stepping into rapping, I also didn't want to make myself a different person. Like, I was like, I'm going by my regular name. I'm going by Felisha George. Like, I'm not creating some new name to go by, or like, even though that's dope too, though. It works for people. Whatever works for people works for people. But for me, it was like, I just want to go in as myself. Thinking of being a whole other person is a little too much for me. So I was like, I'd rather be comfortable in the space of creating and just be my full self.
So before the performances on Rhythm and Flow, it seemed like there was almost like a waiting room with all the artists, especially in the audition rounds. What was kind of like the vibe or the chemistry in that room being surrounded by all those artists?
There was a spectrum of emotions and feelings in that space. I feel like sometimes we'd all be like super hype, super happy, in a great mood, ready to start. and then other times everyone's asleep. And then other times people are like getting a little agitated because we've been in the room.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of the waiting rooms, I think you were saying that like the feeling would kind of be like everyone as one. Like if one person was excited, everyone would be excited. If one person was like kind of sleepy or tired, everyone would be like that. Is that right?
Yeah. Like I literally have videos of all of us sleep in the room. Like we would always be having fun and always be having a good time, but it really just would depend on like the day and how everyone was feeling and like also what was happening, because if it was a day of a performance, everyone would be like, we're not talking, we're not saying anything, we're headphones on, everyone's
they were like for now you're my competitor, I cannot speak to you.
Yes, literally that. Like, but it was great in that room. I think that's a space where we all really got to know each other, which was really dope.
Mm-hmm. So who on the show do you think you connected with the most?
Definitely 100% London. We spent like every day together, and the day I got sent home was so sad. We were so dramatic in my room the day that I got sent home. It was like the most dramatic thing ever, but it was like really beautiful. I think that the show really helped me find sisterhood within rap that I didn't think I would find or ever have. Like, it's definitely something that I cherish and I value that friendship a lot. But yeah, that's definitely the person I'm like closest to.
Mm-hmm. So your first performance on the show, the audition, was in front of Cardi B, Fat Joe, and Jadakiss. What was it like to get out there and perform in front of three really big names in the music industry?
It was a time. So the way that the show was like edited and put out is completely different than it happened. So on the day of, there was one person who was supposed to go in front of me. I was the first person to perform. Mm-hmm. So I was the first person to hit the stage that day. I was the only person who knew like who the other two guests were, because we knew Cardi B was there, but we didn't know who the special guests were. Mm-hmm. And there was someone who was supposed to go before me, but they ended up forgetting their lyrics. So then they got kicked off the stage, and then they were like, next up, Felisha George. And I'm like, no way. Like, no way, I'm supposed to go up there now after someone just forgot their lyrics. Like, how am I supposed to do this? And it was definitely very stressful, but also really fun, because I think because I was the first person to go out, the crowd...
So the person was supposed to go up before you, and they forgot their lyrics. Stressful to go up. So anything to add on to that? Stressful?
Yeah. It was definitely stressful. I was like, felt a lot of pressure on me, because I was like, oh man, I hope I don't go out there and forget now, because the stage is looking real forgettable now. Like, I'm feeling like I might forget. But the crowd was really just like on one. They were super excited to be in the space. I think because I was the first performance, everyone was just like excited to see what was to come. And I also felt like you said earlier, like the moment I went on stage, I could feel Cardi look at me and being like, I don't even know what I'm about to hear from this girl, and I don't even know if I'm excited or not. Like, I could just tell from the way that she was
after you performed, she said, you look like you read books for fun. That was her line about you.
She look like she reads books for fun. I don't read books for fun.
Right, literally. So I was like, oh my God, let's, like, I don't know what this is going to look like, but it went really well, and I was like happy about the response that I got, and yeah, it felt really good afterwards. I was like the first person through, so I was like, this is amazing. Like, everyone was super excited for me when I went back to like the backstage area, so it was super cool.
Yeah. So you kind of mentioned it just now with Cardi, but was there any like worry that when you went up, like Fat Joe or Jadakiss or Cardi, that they wouldn't really understand your style or your look?
Yeah, I definitely thought Cardi was not gonna like me. I went in just knowing like, Felisha, be prepared for Cardi to be like, I don't get it. Like, I don't understand. I'm not here for it. I thought Fat Joe would like me, and I wasn't really sure about Jadakiss, but I was like, I don't think Cardi's gonna like me. Like, when I saw that it was all like rappers up there, when I saw Fat Joe and I saw Jadakiss, I was like, okay, we'll see how this goes. Yeah, I don't know what Cardi's gonna think, but she actually really loved it, and I was like, this works for me.
Yeah, the judges on the show definitely seem to be more rapper focused than just general musician.
Yeah.
So after your first audition, when Cardi told you that you were going to go to LA, what was that feeling like, or what went through your head?
Queen, in my decision, you're coming to LA.
It felt really amazing. I can't even put into words how it felt. I think it was just a amazing feeling to feel, and like just knowing that, because before Rhythm and Flow, I hadn't really done much. Like, I was just rapping on Instagram and like doing shows in like jazz lounges and like poetry lounges like around where I lived. So I was not expecting to, I guess, like be in that space or in that position. And I even went into it like, if this happens, it happens. If not, also great, because it's still going to give me exposure. It's still going to, put my name in rooms that, they should be in. So I really wasn't expecting to get through. I was just like, I'm here. I'm having fun. This is a great experience. And the fact that it happened, I was like, wow, like things are happening in my life. And I also like, which is so cool, is the day that I was told that I got on Rhythm and Flow was my birthday. Like,
that's a pretty good birthday present.
Like, maybe this is meant to be, like, I'm just gonna go in and like, do my best. And the fact that it worked out and I did get sent to LA, it really did great things for me.
Yeah, and like obviously I'm sure it's generally like the longer you were on the show, the more of a following you got, but like even the rappers that they just kind of have a quick edit of like 15 seconds or something, they're still technically on the Netflix show, and even that you get tons of people just seeing your name and seeing your face who wouldn't have otherwise seen it.
Right.
So when you got sent to LA before the Cyphers round, the three main judges, Chance, T.I., and Cardi, told you that the winner would be getting $250,000 and performing on Spotify's Rap Caviar Live. What was your reaction, or what went through your head when you heard that?
I honestly was much more excited about the performance than I was about the money. I was like, oh, $250, that's cool, but like performing on Rap Caviar, like I was like now thinking about so many things that, would happen if that was to happen for me. It was just exciting all around. I feel like it just felt really good to be in that space and to know that those options now existed, whether they were in my reach or not. Like, just being in that space and being privy to that, maybe being my future was amazing and honestly enough for me.
Yeah. So, actually, in the Cyphers round, you had one of the bigger ciphers. It was you, C. Rose, K. Machiavel, J. Ham, and Ray Khalil. What was the vibe or the feeling in that group like leading up to the performance?
That group was so amazing, so supportive. Like, we'd be running our verses together, and like, I just loved every single one of them. They were all super genuine. They were all super sweet. Like, we really worked as a team to try and make that the most successful cipher we could. I definitely could not remember anything. Like, it was like nothing was staying in my head whatsoever. Like, even when we would practice it, I would just be saying whatever because the words that I wrote was not sticking with me, and I also didn't want to do anything old because for me, like, everything I created before Rhythm and Flow could not, like, it just wasn't possible to recreate that or put that on to a beat that they gave us because those beats were very like trapped.
Even if you had, that's like not something that would really fit in the like kind of feeling of Rhythm and Flow.
Right, like the music I make is very like jazzy and soulful, and so like being in that space, I was just like, I'm just gonna have to go with it because my brain is not keeping up with this whatsoever. So like I was honestly just in there doing my best. But they were so supportive, and we were all supportive of each other. And even after we finished with the way that it went, it was still like beautiful to be in a group with them because I felt supported, and I'm sure they felt the same way.
So your music being different than almost anyone else on the show, do you think that made it harder for you to get through each round of the competition?
For sure, like 100%. I feel like because that's not necessarily the music I make, it didn't bring out the most authentic side of myself. And kind of like I told you before, like if I'm not comfortable, it's really hard for me to produce anything. Like everything will go out the window if I'm not comfortable with what it is that I'm doing. And I feel like in that space I was also like, oh, I shouldn't do the slower things because we're on Rhythm and Flow here with all these like trap rappers, and like no one wants to hear my jazzy music.
A lot of
like,
the rappers, whatever round it was, mostly in the auditions, but also other rounds, seem to just kind of see like, okay, how fast can I say these?
Right.
When your music is very much like slower, kind of more poetic music.
Yeah, so it was really hard for me trying to figure out like how I was going to just approach everything. But I feel like the way that it happened is how it happened. And like, I think for a while I was really upset that I wasn't able to produce my best work on that show. But then I was like, Felisha, those beats were not you. Like, let's be very honest, those beats were not you. And like, there's also nothing wrong with that because I feel like I did go there and I did the best that I could. And it created a lot of just success for me and a lot of different avenues for me. So it did what it was supposed to do. Yeah, it was definitely difficult.
So we didn't actually get to see much of it in the final edit of the show. But I think after the ciphers, the judges mentioned that you like messed up in the cipher.
Yeah, I messed up, but that's okay. I'm a slave, cause being a queen is what I do like all day.
You had a dope freestyle when you up there.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Which, just watching your performance, we couldn't really see. Is that true? Did you like kind of slip up a bit in the cipher?
That whole cipher was a freestyle. I don't need, like, as soon as I got off of the stage, I was like, y'all, what did I say? Literally do not remember what I said at all. And everyone was like, no, you were fine. I'm like, no way. Because I don't even know if I was speaking English. I do not know what I said. Like, it was hard for me to even watch it back because I was like, to this day, I don't remember what I said. So, like.
So, did you think you were going to make it through that round?
No, I thought I was going home. For sure. I was like, yep, I might as well start packing my bags because I don't know what I said and I could have sounded like a fool out there. So I'm just going to pack my stuff. And then when I didn't get sent home, I was like, well, here I am.
Yeah. So this question's a bit harder to answer, I guess, if you didn't remember what you were saying. But like after you messed up, did you get in your head more and get anxious, or did you want to like go harder, finish up better to really round it out?
I just wasn't going to give up. Like, it was like the first line or the first bar that I said was correct, and then everything after that, I have, but I just couldn't stop. I wasn't going to allow myself to stop. So I was like, honestly, whatever comes out is what comes out, which is why I was like, yo, I don't even know if I was speaking English. I don't know if they were real words that were coming out of my mouth, but like, whenever I'm in that space, because it also happens to me at regular shows where I forget
just black out when you're on stage.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I just have to fill it in. And so, it's definitely less pressure when it's my own shows versus like an international show.
Netflix show with some of the biggest names in music.
Right. So, like, yeah, I just told myself I would never just stop. Like, I'll never just stop.
Yeah, One Take Carter was saying, like, you do not lose unless you stop. Like, if there's a break in your music or you stop rapping, then, like, that's when you've lost.
Yep, and I was like, yeah, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep going, and whatever is supposed to happen is going to happen.
So I'm sure it was different than how they showed it on the show, but after your rap battle with Caleb Colossus, when the rappers kind of, like, discussed of who they thought should move on,
both did very poorly on this one exercise.
I agree.
So we will deliberate and find out who was worse. It's about and by
let's
process of elimination.
Figure out which one of you were worse.
How long did that actually take, or what was that like in real life?
That took a minute. They actually stopped filming. They this whole discussion, and then like they came up to me and they asked me questions, and then they went back and they were deliberating, and it got to actually a very excruciating point for me, because that was also another space where I forgot everything, and I was like, at this point, you know, if y'all are having trouble, just please send me home, because this is like, it's too much for me and my anxiety.
But like even the judges said like that was probably the closest battle of the show, and you like I think Caleb messed up, so I think you both messed up a little, and they were like trying to decide like who do we pick, because normally if one person like makes a small mistake, it's easy and you can just kind of bail yourself out by going with the other option, but there wasn't really that available here. So they actually stopped filming and had like a real discussion, and then started the cameras and got all that footage for the show. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you had gotten the chance to have another go at the battle rap and battle Caleb Colossus again, do you think you would have won, and what would you have done differently to prepare for it?
100%. I feel like I would have beat him, just because the verse that he actually spit was his verse, and the verse that I spit was not my verse, not a line of it. It was, that whole battle was a freestyle.
But I never actually heard you spit a written verse since we've been doing the show. It speaks volumes that your freestyle was with Caleb's written verse.
I didn't know what I said for that either.
That battle was the same thing as the cypher. You just kind of...
Yep, like I had this whole idea for the battle. Like I came out with like the cape and like the mat, the things on my hand, and like my whole verse was about like boxing and like taking him out or whatever.
Look, dig, round one, I hit the ball and now I come to the coop. You think you're right, you're not tight, you the one that's gonna lose.
And like none of that came out, so I was like, you know, but if it would have came out, it definitely would have beat his verse. And I honestly feel like there was no way I could have prepared better, because I was like up trying to remember it. It was like all memorized. Like I felt good about it up until the music started, and I was like, oh wait, what are the words again? But yeah, I think if I would have done it again, I just hope I would remember that time. But yeah.
So D-Smoke ended up winning the show, and you mentioned it earlier, but did you agree with him winning, or did you think there should have been someone else who won above him?
I love Smoke. I love the music that he makes. I love that this show has given him access to like a platform and to be able to like put his work out, because his work is a masterpiece, of course. And I do think London should have won. I just feel like she really showed the most like versatility and the most like just style, and I just feel like all around the board she should have won, or
she checked all the boxes.
Yeah, like and then like I also think she has the best brand. She's the most brandable. She's the most like, and then you know, little girls need to see women like London. Like all of my kids in class are like, we love London B, we love London B. And like when I have her on the phone and I'm like FaceTiming her in class, they're all like going crazy. I'm like, this should have been the winner of Rhythm and Flow. Like it just would have been great to see a black woman like win a show like this. Yeah,
and I think she like almost the same as you. Your looks very like stand out, and like she has that distinct like half black, half like blonde hair. On top, so yeah. Well, all right. Thank you for coming onto the podcast. It's been a great time, other than the technical difficulties. But where can people find you on social media, just for music, everything? Where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram at Felisha George _. YouTube is Felisha George as well. Twitter, the same, Felisha George _. And yeah, I'm going to be dropping some new stuff soon, which I'm like really excited about. So stay tuned.
Yeah, I definitely will. All right, thank you.
Christian Dior, knock, got peas at the door. 30 point gon' score. Arm and hammer like Thor. Sippin' some oil. Yeah, water gon' boil. Big coupe, Megazord. Plain paddock is aluminum foil.